These are some of the most influential villains of the 1980s and beyond. Welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher. So let's jump right into it. We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. Boys and girls, welcome back. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and I want to thank you for joining me for a special video here today. We're going to be going through my top 10 80s cartoon villains of all time. But before we get into this one, like always, I remind you guys, if you're not a current sub of the channel, do yourself a favor, hit that sub button. You will not regret it. There's some awesome content coming that you don't want to miss out on. With that said, I need you to do me a big favor, guys. Smash that like button because it really does help the channel out. We're trying to get to 10,000 subs by the end of this year, and I need your help. With that said, guys, the 80s really influenced my life. I am 46 years old right now as we speak, and I would not be the person who I am if it wasn't for these 80s villains. Let's get into it.
Number 10.
Here's one for the road, Gadget.
Dr. Claw. Inspector Gadget's main nemesis is a largely unseen character. This series took a page from the classic James Bond movies and did their version of the villain Blofeld, complete with a cat that Claw pets while facing away from us in his custom villainized chair. He ranks low on the list because as schemers go, he wasn't exactly a Rhodes Scholar in that department. He was always fooled by a guy who can turn into a human helicopter, little girl Penny, and her dog Brain. The almost mythic way the show treated and presented Claw, however, earns him a spot on the list. However, one can't think of a Gadget without also thinking of his raspy voiced and mysterious enemy.
I feel like singing.
Number 9.
Hordak.
Give it up, Skeletor! You couldn't find your own face on a sunny day!
Hordak serves as a leader of the evil horde, known for his rulership over the planet Etheria. Despite his status as a leader, Hordak does serve as the former mentor of Skeletor, with the latter trapping him in another dimension before setting off to conquer Eternia. An angered Hordak swore vengeance over his former pupil, but She-Ra kept him busy. Aside from his conflicted history with Skeletor, Hordak is known for his terrifying vampiric appearance. Despite Skeletor using magic, Hordak has a knack for using science to achieve his goals. His host of abilities include transformation. Hordak can transform parts of himself or his entire body to overcome various challenges. In some of Hordak's depictions, the evil horde leader is also shown to be able to use magic of a greater kind than that of Skeletor's.
Number 8.
One spoonful of this should be enough to wipe out the entire Smurf population.
Gargamel. Gargamel is an evil wizard whose main goal is to destroy the Smurfs. His back is perpetually stooped, his robe is worn and patched, and his teeth are rotten. And yes, he's single, ladies. Sometimes he wants to eat the Smurfs, other times he wants to use them to make gold according to an old magic spell, and still other times he has even more bizarre uses for them. Though he often catches Smurfs who wander by his home or which he happens across in the forest, he does not know the location of the hidden Smurf village, a fact which continually frustrates him. On rare occasions, he will discover the location of the Smurf village, but sooner or later forgets its location due to either a magic spell put on him by Papa Smurf or forgets because of some other bizarre factor like eating too many Smurf mushrooms. He's an eternal bungler. He has a seemingly endless library of spellbooks, potions, and gimmicks for his life's passion. However, no matter how elaborate Gargamel's plans, they invariably end in failure, causing him to spout his catchphrase,
I hate those Smurfs!
Number 7.
Our clever leader doesn't know what it does.
Starcream. The most Machiavellian of Transformers, Starcream was an Enlago type to Megatron, placating his boss with false praise and flattery while mocking his leader with disdain behind his back. Starcream is the best, worst kind of number 2, believing he can do the big bad job better despite a track record mostly full of loss. But the conspiring Starcream is unique, not just for his iconic fan favorite status, but for being such an Olympian manipulator. That's his superpower. Playing sides in a way that allows him to turn defeat into personal victory, even at the cost of verbal and physical abuse to himself at the hands of Megatron. The conniving Decepticon reaped what he sowed, however, thanks to the first animated Transformers movie. After kicking a broken Megatron off Astro Train and into space, Starscream threw his own coronation, complete with jeweled crown, to ascend to the throne of Supreme Leader. Galvatron put a stop to it by ending Starscream's life in a blast of purple energy.
Especially since he has done more in 2 days than you have in 2 years.
Number 6.
I can't believe it. Another plan, another scheme ruined by incompetence.
While Krang came in with the louder, bigger threats, Shredder was more of the boots-on-the-ground baddie and leader of the Foot Clan. He was constantly gunning for or trying to hurt Splinter and his Turtles. His personal history and rivalry with the former gave the animated series an almost Obi-Wan versus Vader quality whenever the two characters were in conflict.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
Oh, yes, Shredder. Clearly, it's everyone else's fault.
Shredder was no stranger to coming out the other side of his evil plans with egg, or pizza on this case, in his face, resorting in some truly comical beats. Krang, however, while sometimes finding himself the butt of a joke or three, is not the sentient talking brain with whom to fuck. He's a warlord who calls Dimension X home as one of the most badass mobile fortresses, the Technodrome, in the history of animated series villainy. As cool and likable as the Ninja Turtles were, their villains were ultimately more dramatically and visually interesting.
If everyone would just follow my brilliant strategies, we'd have crushed those turtles by now.
Number 5.
And people say I'm crazy.
The Joker from the animated TV series. Mark Hamill's Joker has become not only the most iconic animated version of the character, but one of the most well-known across any medium. As a comic book fan himself, Hamill understands the Joker's nuances like no other voice actor, underscoring his deadly nature with ironic and downright playful humor. The Joker is one of the most popular villains of all time, and that is largely thanks to his terrifying appearances in Batman the Animated Series. His character was entrenched in a horrifying combination of insanity and violence, and he was by far the Batman's most formidable opponent. With Mark Hamill's chilling vocal performance, Joker aroused terror in Gotham with his unpredictable and highly chaotic plans. Despite being deranged, the most foreboding aspect about him is that he could outwit anyone who crossed him. Joker's trigger-happy personality in Batman the Animated Series, combined with his role as a mad genius, makes him the uncontested top intimidating villain in animated TV history.
Number 4.
And you'd be out in the rain watching your face rust.
Cobra Commander. Possessing one of the most iconic voices and charming love-to-hate personalities, Cobra Commander quickly imprinted himself in the minds of young audiences as an unforgettable villain. His collection of near misses and all-out defeats is borderline comical, a point the show made meta and direct references to in their search for Serpentor. It also gets called out in the animated movie, which sends the villain screaming into and out of Cobra La following his exposure to spores that turn him into, appropriately, a snake. His last moments were spent hissing to Roadblock as the Joe wore him like a Yoda backpack through the frozen tundra bordering Cobra La were truly tragic and pitiful. But the villain, as cliche as his intents were, achieved redemption in his final moments by coming to the aid of the very heroes he spent his career behind a hood or metal face, masking trying to destroy.
Now stop sputtering like a wet toaster and get busy!
Number 3.
Spirits of evil, transform this decayed form to Mum-Ra, the ever-living!
Mum-Ra. One of the most terrifying character designs in the genre's history, Mum-Ra scared many a kid shitless as soon as he appeared in the Thundercats opening titles. Inspired loosely by fellow animated series villain Skeletor, Mum-Ra's power set and overall physically imposing look made him a affordable villain for Lion-O. Mum-Ra kept his true villainous form concealed, wrapped in mummy shrouds before unleashing his true form on the Thundercats. His backstory is a unique one, worthy of fleshing out more than the show ever did, as he is a slave to the ancient spirits of evil and seems to thrive on keeping his world in a constant state of yellow alert or DEFCON 2. Any villain who thrives on keeping the mere threat of menace alive puts him in the crazy but not stupid section and makes him extremely dangerous. Honestly, we're glad this guy never won. We'd hate to see what this mass of pure evil would do if emboldened by victory.
Number 2.
Perhaps you recognize me. I am Megatron.
Megatron. Megatron is a Decepticon of simple tastes. He just wants to hoard Energon cubes, hurt Autobots and humans, and tear out Optimus Prime's optics. As alien robots go, he's very consistent and predictable. Plot, bicker with Starscream, and then enable him by tolerating his antics, fight Prime and his people, lose said fight, and repeat. That said, we're unsure why he insists on needing Energon for fuel when he clearly runs on pure high-octane hate. From the jump, Megatron let it be known that he is weapons-grade evil. Never mind that the leader of robots that can turn into jets and space shuttles and tanks is a guy who can only transform into a gun that needs fired by someone else. Megatron subsists on good people and innocent lives, suffering the fallout of his dastardly plots. Unlike the others on this list, he succeeded at defeating and killing his nemesis. After a brutal, iconic battle in the 1986 Transformers the movie, Megatron faked being helpless, begged for mercy only to blast away a beaten Prime with a pistol. And this after murdering a spaceship full of Autobots, RIP Ironhide, in cold blood. Megatron's victory was short-lived and tragic, as the arrogant villain was forced into submission and painfully turned into Galvatron by the planet-sized Unicron. A fitting end for this ruthless character.
The pompous, gullible fool. He thinks he will be king, but he will never be more than a pawn.
Number 1.
Because you were a whip scientist and you could be a whip villain. It's the sorceress, you boob. They should call you Wimplash. Quiet or I'll turn you into a suitcase. Just as I suspected. Hollow!
Skeletor! Skeletor's iconic skull visage, snarky wit, and overall tenacity and severe dislike of He-Man earns him the top spot. Eternia is full of good people just trying to live their lives by the way of superior tech and flying jet skis, and that's what seemingly pisses off Skeletor the most. You'd be mad too if you were relegated to Snake Mountain and your best friend was a bumbling man-beast. There was no scheme or plot beneath Skeletor's animosity for He-Man. His blinding hatred for the hero and the King of Eternia, that boob, may explain why he didn't really notice how similar He-Man and his alter ego Prince Adam looked. With that said, Skeletor remains the single most influential villain from all the 80s villains, and the reason why I'm a huge Masters of the Universe fan. Together someday we'll learn the secrets of Castle Grayskull.
Back up, muscle boy. I have you now, you muscle-bound oaf. You furry, flea-bitten fool. I'll cover my throne with your hide. You overgrown fur coat, you let him get away. Skeletor to King Randor. Skeletor to King Randor. Come in, you royal boob.
My god, what a trip down memory lane. I absolutely loved Saturday morning cartoons, coming home after school and getting on that TV and watching Transformers, Thundercats, and of course my favorite, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a blast putting it together. These toys, these shows are something that really molded our lives, and I hope you agree with me. Like always, this is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon.